Om Shanti. Today I was thinking that in Satyug we are naturally pure, naturally loveful, peaceful, happy. And here it takes so much effort to maintain a state of love or peace or purity for one full day. And Mama in the Murli today explains that it definitely requires a lot of hard work to be stable in the stage of soul consciousness and to imbibe divine virtues. So, if we look at what Mama is trying to say is, soul consciousness is the key. So in Satyug, we are naturally soul conscious because we have created that stage now. And because of that stable state of soul consciousness, we are always loveful, happy, peaceful, because that is how a soul conscious soul is. Now, if you look at the whole Gyan, so when Baba comes, Baba is not talking about, so Baba definitely talks about imbibing divine virtues, but if you look at most of the time, Baba is talking about changing our consciousness of who I am. So every day in the Murli, Baba is reminding that he is Shiv Baba, and he is Shiv Baba is okay, but I am a Brahma Kumar Kumari, and I am the one who is originally Shiv Baba's child. In the soul world, I lived like a star, just like Shiv Baba, with the same qualities. And then here also Baba says, I have adopted you and you are like me. So you understand that you are like me and you are like your Alokik father, Brahma Baba. So if Brahma Baba is also a human and he is capable of being, compassionate and pure and peaceful and happy all day, and he is able to transition from a human to an angel, and you are his children, he has adopted you, and he is giving you all that Shiv Baba is giving him. So if he has inherited Shiv Baba's property and he has become so pure, peaceful, compassionate, then why can't you become the same? So every day Baba is reminding us that you work on your consciousness of who you are, because that is where the problem lies. And I think, so there may be other ways also, but I think that, whenever we have been told to change, we have been inspired to change ourselves, then usually the method of fear has been used. So you see that sometimes you just keep telling, do this, don't do that. So and you are a person of authority. So some amount of change comes through that. For example, if the government asks you to keep the vicinity clean, then you do it only when somebody is looking, and then at other times you don't do it, because that is about that authority looking at you or not looking at you. So if they are watching, you are careful. If they're not watching, you're not careful. So that happens. So this is one method. So, just on the level of behavior, asking somebody to change. And I don't think that's a very successful method. Then there is the fear of consequences. So, on a like on a practical level, we impose fines and all. So even that sometimes, there was one brother, he told me that now there is a fine on not wearing the mask. So I have decided that I would pay this much of fine every month and still not wear the mask. So these are the ways in which people prepare themselves for punishment also. So, monetary punishment, monetary fines don't work too much because people are not afraid to pay too much these days. And then there are other things like, the fear of death. Like in COVID, there was this fear that if you don't maintain the hygiene and the discipline, then probably you can die. So there is the fear of death. But if you look at what happened during COVID, then many people overcame that fear of death also. So, there was a situation in the US where everybody said that we will go out and we will go to the beach and we will party, and despite consequences we will do that. And the government had a tough time there. And then there is one sister, she's a US citizen, and she was asking me, so Didi, would you call this courage? So is it courage that these people are willing to go and keep their lives on stake and still, party and be on the beach? So is it about courage? Have they overcome the fear of death? So at that time I told her that, that fear is a vice. So fear is a vice, right? It's a vikar. And the nature of vices is one vice overpowers another vice. Okay, so in case of, so when the lust or when the wanderlust or the lust is too much, then you don't mind death even, because at that time you mind death, but then you just forget that it's like that vikar, that vice creates a cloud over your buddhi, and you are not able to see clearly what you're doing. So your buddhi is not able to make the right decision because that vice has overpowered your fear of death at that time. But if have you seen somebody who shows this kind of a courage and then they actually meet the consequence? So I've seen this one brother, and he wanted to go on a bike tour, and he wanted to ride a bike, and it was a long ride, and he had some destination. And when he set off, we all told him, don't make that decision, we don't want you to make that decision. But he said, you people are like cowards, and you don't, there is no adventure in your life, and you don't understand the value of an adventure. And he then took off. And then after some days he met with an accident, and when he met with an accident, his words, his behavior were totally opposite of how he was speaking earlier. So they don't face the consequences with the same courage with which they plunge into the vice. So that is the nature of vice, when you are vicious. So when lust or, this greed or attachment, or even wanderlust, when there is this temptation to go out and travel, then these desires, they take over your intellect, and then it feels like you are very courageous, but that's not courage. That's just desire taking its toll. And then, so this fear based, the consequences, then the fear of consequences, which is used as a deterrent to stop someone or discourage someone from some kind of behavior, doesn't work too much, because fear is a vice, and that vice can be overtaken by other vices. And if you look at the nature of vices, it is very interesting, because you see, you look at anger. So there is somebody who is who has a lot of anger issues, and then they have attachment. And when they have attachment, so they don't get angry to the one they are attached to, and they become very, very, so it looks like he's the most loving person around that child or around that person, but otherwise that person has a lot of anger issues. So the attachment has overcome the vice of lust, but vice of anger, but that doesn't mean that the anger is not there. Now once that very child hurts that person's ego, then you see the anger that comes out. So that's how it works. So one vice, sometimes you feel like you have overcome that vice because you are under the sway of another vice, but it is not like somebody has become free from vices. So using vices as a deterrent for negative action doesn't work too much. And that is why Baba doesn't tell us, even in the scriptures we are told, if you don't do this, or if you do this wrong karma, then you will go to they will kind of fry you in the cauldron, and so there are lots of things written in Garud Puran. And when I was a child, I once attended one sabha where they were reading the Garud Puran, and in that I clearly remember they said that tumhe tel ki kadai mein chhan denge. So I had that image that maybe they will fry me like this if I did something wrong. But the thing is, I didn't know what wrong not to do. So that was another problem. But yes, for petty things like don't lie and don't be late and all of that, I used that. So that image kind of deterred me for some time, but not very long, until I grew up, and then I started understanding that so there is this hedonistic approach to life that sets in after some time, that you have to be merry and you have to enjoy life, and when that sets in, then all these other things, they fade out. And then when Baba comes, Baba doesn't tell you these things. Baba doesn't say that for fear of punishment you don't commit sin, or you refrain from negative action because you will be fried in a frying pan. Nothing like that. Baba just every day reminds me who I am. And Baba says, you are sweet, you are pure, you are peaceful, you are a soul, you are God's child. Yes. Now if somebody asks you one simple question, why is God loveful? Yes. So what do you say? God is loveful because He is loveful. Not because of anything else. God, we know that God doesn't need an incentive to be loveful. God doesn't need a punishment to be otherwise. So God doesn't have to be discouraged from being not loveful, or God doesn't need an incentive to be loveful. So that is something we know about God, right? So we know that God is loveful, peaceful, happy, because that is who He is. And Baba says, I am just reminding you that you are also my child and you're just like me. Your design is peace, love, happiness. As easy as that, as simple as that. You don't need any incentive to be happy. You don't need anything to happen for you to be happy, or you don't need somebody to give you something to be loveful, or you don't need some incentive to be loveful. That's your nature. And Baba says you just have to come to that realization, because that realization has been lost somewhere in the way. And have you tried? So I'm sure you must all have tried, because most children of Baba are sitting here for some time. So have you tried just reminding yourself that I'm capable of love in this situation, and have you been able to be loveful at that time? Just this awareness that I can be loveful, I am loveful, I am peaceful, I am patient. I have that quality. Just that reminder, that realization makes you realize that you are capable of these virtues in any situation. So you see that soul consciousness and divine virtues are so connected. So when you are soul conscious, when you are in awareness that I am a soul and I am Baba's child and this is my quality, then that quality works for you. And I remember there was this one brother, and he had started going to like attending classes for some time. And then he told me, Didi, one day I just put a reminder, like in my phone, I had 24 reminders set, one for every hour. And when that alarm went off, I just reminded myself 5 times, or around 1 minute. I just sat in that awareness that I am a soul and I am separate from the body, and I am very light, and nothing from the body or from the environment around me sticks to the mind. So my mind is free, my mind is peaceful despite everything. And he said that I just practice this bodiless state. So I am a soul free from the body or separate from the body. I just practiced it 1 hour every 1 minute every hour. And he said that at the end of the day, I had done much more work than I normally do. And I was very relaxed, very light. I was not feeling any burden. And I really felt the power of the practice of bodilessness. Yes, so then I said, so when was that? So he said, 2 months back. So I said, and so by now you must have become like, at least 60 times better in your state than you were that day. So he said, no, I did it only one day. From next day, I didn't pay attention. So I said, what did that realization do to you then? So you practiced, you realized, but then you didn't do it. So he said, I felt so happy that this works, that in that happiness I didn't practice again. So I just know that this is Baba. So you see, the height of our ego. So, so the height of our ego is you are experimenting with Baba's ideas to give a certificate to Baba that you are Baba and you are the truth and whatever you are saying works. And after giving that certificate, you don't even have the sense to apply that in your life and take the benefit of such powerful wisdom that Baba is giving. This is ego, and this is the height of ego that we humans have. And I remember there was this, so when this topic of ego has come up, let me tell you one more thing. So but there was this woman and she used to come to the center, and when she came, first day she came alone and the next day her husband came with her. And then she told me he also wants to do the course. So I said, okay, good, both of you sit. And then I gave the course. And then 5 days the husband came and then he didn't come. And then the woman continued coming. So the 6th day I asked the woman, so why is Bhai Sahib not coming? Did he not like the course? He said, no, he liked the course very much. But he had not come for the course. He had just come to check whether I am going to a right place or not. And now that he is satisfied, he has allowed me to go and attend the classes and his job is done, so he is not coming. So then I asked her, so if he figured out that this is the right course and the right place, then why didn't he continue coming? So if it is right for you, it's also right for him, right? But she said, no, he doesn't. So the place is right, the course is right, but he is also right. So he doesn't need a right place and a right course. And I am the one who has a problem, so I am coming. So do you look at the ego that people have? People come, so human beings have this inflated ego that they check whether God is the truth or not, whether God's teachings are true or not, God's place is right or not, but they don't have the sensibility to extract that which is right from the right place and imbibe in their life to make their life elevated. So Baba says that I am giving you the knowledge which can change your sanskar, which can change your life, which can change the world. So I gave you an example of, this practice of the bodiless state. And bodiless state is one information that Baba gives us. But then, very simple things, just reminding that I am a pure soul. When I was in the soul world, there was no body, there was no bodily need. In Satyug, Tretayug, for 2500 years, there was no physical desire despite having bodies. So I took 20 births, but in those 20 births, there was no physical desire. Why? Because I, the soul, was soul conscious. So if you just remind yourself that you are pure, you have lived, without, free from physical desires for 20 births, and you have been for 2 yugas, there was no physical desire, then today also you will realize that purity is your original religion. But Baba says, how much do we use this soul consciousness? How much do we practice this soul consciousness? How much do we stay in awareness that I am a soul and these are my basic qualities and I am like my Baba? So Baba is every day telling us to change the consciousness, because change at any other level is not permanent, it's not long lasting. But change at the level of consciousness is so final, so permanent, that once you shift that, so that's the shift we will be doing here, right? And then that shift will last for 2 yugas. So this is why in the Murli, Mama is explaining today that Gyan is given in 1 second, but creating a stable state of soul consciousness and imbibing divine virtues is what takes time. And this is the area where we have to focus. So we have to focus on creating a soul conscious stage. It's not like Hatha yoga. What is Hatha yoga? Punishing your organs for being mischievous. But no, you don't have to punish, you don't have to create fear of consequences. You just have to realize that I am that soul. And it takes time and effort, because until and unless you sit with yourself, you sit with the awareness that you are a soul, you sit with the awareness of your original qualities, and you sit with the awareness that you are a child of the Almighty, this shift cannot happen. So this maintaining this consciousness, staying in that awareness, that is what is yoga, and that is the effort that we have to make in this Sangam Yuga. So this is what Mama says in the Murli today. And then in the Murli, in the blessing, Baba talks about the double lock of Yad and Seva. So Baba says, if you don't want Maya to disturb you, then you must apply the double lock of remembrance and Seva. Now the thing is, what is the double lock of remembrance and Seva, and which door has it to be applied to? So which is the door which stays open? So I think that there are two major doors of Maya: time and thought. So Maya comes through free time and free thought. So when your thought is free and your time is free, that's when Maya comes in. Have you seen that when you're busy, when you're doing work, at that time there is no Maya? Yes, only when you keep your mind open and keep your time free, that's when Maya comes in. So the double lock has to be applied there. So when there is time and thought which is free, then you engage it in remembrance and Seva. So that's how you engage your time and thought in Seva and remembrance. And not just when it is free, but all the time, having this remembrance of Baba and this attitude of Seva. So Baba has told us that you must change everything lokik into alaukik. Yes, so even when you are doing something which is very ordinary, very mundane, something you do every day, so don't do it with the ordinary consciousness. Do it in remembrance of Baba. Do it with the attitude of Seva. So Baba has told us that even when you're raising children, you're cooking food, you're preparing the house for the children, still you must have the attitude of Seva. So think that these are Baba's children and have that attitude of Seva. And when that attitude is there, that attitude of seva and that remembrance of Baba is there, then Maya doesn't come. So, even if the child doesn't listen to you, or even if something happens and the child is not on the same page with you, you will not feel the disheartenment and disappointment and hurt that other people feel, because the door of Maya is coming through time and thought. And when you have engaged your time and thought with this attitude of seva and this remembrance in the buddhi of Baba while doing everything, then you stay safe from Maya. And let me tell you that sometimes people think that, okay, I can think that this is seva, but this is mundane work, right? But let me tell you, even when we are doing seva, let's say I'm doing seva, I'm living in Baba's house, and in Baba's house everything is seva, right? But even then, if I don't have the attitude of seva, I can get caught in Maya. Because then why am I doing and why is the other person not doing can come in my mind also. So it's very important to have that conscious attitude of seva and remembrance of Baba, that I'm doing it with the ocean of purity, with the ocean of love. So obviously my state will be very loveful, peaceful, and I'm doing seva. So obviously I'm doing it on Baba's direction. So I don't need any support, any reward, any recognition from anyone or anything around me. So that's the attitude you have to have. And then Baba says that if that's not there, so if the yad and seva double lock is not there, then Maya keeps coming. And you see, everybody is working. So people are not sitting, people are always engaged all the time. Even if they are not engaged in work, they are engaged on the phone. So nobody is sitting idle, but still there is so much of Maya, because you see that engagement is coming from a sense of I and mine. That engagement is very sensual. That's why all that Maya is coming from that work, from relationships, from every kind of engagement. But when you engage with everything with an attitude of seva, now the thing is, when you are in Baba's remembrance and you are in the attitude of seva, obviously you wouldn't pick your phone and watch negative stuff and wasteful stuff. So Baba says, when you are in remembrance of Baba, then some actions of yours will be auto-corrected, because you know that in Baba's remembrance you cannot have too much sensual engagement. So you can look at work with detachment, but you cannot engage in sensual pleasure in Baba's remembrance. So these wasteful ways through which our energy gets depleted, they are automatically taken care of. And then when you're fulfilling responsibilities, so going for work or taking care of the household, if you're doing it in Baba's remembrance and with the attitude of seva, then you don't get caught up in attachment and greed and ego. So that's also another thing. And then Baba today says, now the seva has to be true seva, and the remembrance has to be powerful remembrance. Because sometimes you say it is seva, but then there is a selfish motive behind it. So what is again selfish? So today the word selfish has been used. So real service is that in which there is no selfishness. So selfish is the sense of mine in it. Okay, so sometimes, children, they try to deceive Baba. And how do they do that? They say, Baba, this is your work, but in their heart, it is my job. Okay, so they would say, this is your seva, but then in their heart, it is my job. And then what happens? Because in the heart, there is this sense of mine. So anything happens to the job, your heart skips a beat. Because that sense of mine is there. So you feel, so Maya comes through this sense of loss and gain, hurt and betrayal, everything, because there is no true feeling that this is seva. Now, if really you consider that the children are Baba's children and the job is Baba's job, and that can only happen when you are taking care of the children according to Baba's Srimad, and you are using the proceeds of the job for Ishwariya Seva. If you're not using your income from the job for Ishwariya Seva, then your heart will not say this is Baba's job. So when there is truth and when there is no selfishness, then really Baba takes care of the fact that Maya doesn't disturb you and your state of mind doesn't fluctuate. Now let me tell you about my experience in Seva. So when my throat is not okay, or I have a fever running, or there is some issue, then I have no problem at all. I tell Baba, I have to conduct 5 classes of yours. So you take care of the body, I will conduct it, or else I will have a nice time sleeping, I don't mind. And then Baba cures me, or Baba at least gives me the strength to sit and talk. And later he gives me sleep good enough so that I can again recharge and go back to work. So Baba helps me finish my karmic accounts also, because karmic accounts everybody has. But that is because when we say this is Baba's seva, yes, this is Baba's seva. And it's not like we are saying this is Baba's seva and there is selfishness inside. So Baba says, when there is remembrance and when there is true Baba's seva, then you will be free from Maya. And what does Maya do? Maya wastes your time, and Maya makes your thoughts negative. Okay? And you see, all the mental discomfort that people are feeling today is because of Maya. And today nobody's mind is at peace. And nobody seems to have enough time. Everybody is in a hurry and they feel they are running out of time, and they are always anxious about time. So these 2 factors are because of Maya. And when you follow this advice of Baba and you take care of Maya, then your mind will always be peaceful, and you will always feel like you have enough time, and that time is on your side. Time is your friend. You don't feel that time is your, time is not, time is always opposing you. You don't feel like that. So you feel time is always on your side and you have enough time, and that's what you achieve. And that's, I think, in Kali Yuga, that is the most you can achieve. So that is the state of mind and your relationship with time that changes when you put this double lock of remembrance and seva. All right.